welcome back, and in this video I'll be giving you some information on threat modeling. So be it any business, the business would deal with various assets, and it's the key responsibility and duty of a business to secure all those assets. So that's where threat modeling comes into picture. So let's take a look at what it is. So before thinking about what to protect and how to protect, let's look at why protect. So why should businesses actually care about securing their information and assets? So there are various aspects that need to be taken into account, and there is a CIA triad where C stands for confidentiality, I stands for integrity, and A for availability. Now, this CIA triad that you are looking at is a model that helps organizations to set up their information security policies. Okay, so before setting up any policy, before looking into what needs to be done, before jotting down various rules and standards, first you need to understand, okay, what are the aspects based on which you need to secure information. So C stands for confidentiality, and it's very important that the confidentiality aspect is managed and maintained by an organization, because no one would want any confidential information being leaked out. It will create a loss to the business as well as for the individual concerned person. The next one is integrity. Integrity is all about making the right use of information. Just because you have information in hand doesn't mean that you can take control of it and use it to one's own advantage. So, always the integrity aspect of information needs to be taken into account and managed. And A stands for availability. Now, imagine you having access to a website or an application, and though you are an authorized user, still the website or the application throws an error or saying that you would be denied service, or you cannot, or certain information will not be displayed to you. Sounds little frustrating, right? So always availability is about making information available to the right people at the right time. You should be sure also not to disclose information to unauthorized users. So these are the key aspects on which security needs to be based on, and guidelines. Some organizations use the CIA triad in order to set up their information policies. So, security policies. So, now that we know why all this is important, let us look at what will be protected and how to protect. So, what is threat modeling? So, once you know why, to do the what part of it is where threat modeling comes into picture. So, threat modeling is a process of identifying potential risks, security threats, and vulnerabilities that may exist to an organization's assets, such as documents, servers, networks, etc. So, in an organization, there are various components, and every component plays a very key and vital role for the business. So, it's very important that all these components are secured in a way so that it is not vulnerable or it is not prone to any risks and attacks. So, after an organization identifies potential risks, threats, and vulnerabilities, it doesn't stop there. An organization would prioritize the risks and also create mitigation plans to combat the risks. So, prioritization is done in different ways. You have different quadrants that is used, you have a particular like a catalog of risks. So there are different ways which I'll be explaining in another video. So once these risks are jotted down and prioritized, you need to, even organizations need to also create mitigation plans, because unless mitigation plans are created, only then when a particular security threat or risk arises, organizations would be able to quickly take up mitigation plans and execute them in order to avoid losses of information and also loss of financial and also loss to their finance. So that's why mitigation plans are created. Now, if you're wondering who are all involved and responsible for this threat modeling, I would say everyone in the organization, no matter what role you are of, whether you're a business analyst, a developer, a DB admin, if you're going to be a quality analyst, whoever you may be, you would be following into categories. Either it's the business side or either you'll be in the development team. So, whichever category you belong to, it's very essential that you look into security. For example, if you're going to be a business analyst, you're one person who will be dealing between the development and the clients. So, be it whatever requirement that you get, you should never compromise on security. So, you also should be aware and you should always see that security is managed in your application and there should not be any compromises. Similarly, if you're going to be a developer, every line of code, every logic that you're coding and you're building should actually, you should keep in mind the security aspect of it, because application needs to be secure. There's no a big deal in having a very big application, a full blown application with hi-fi features when the application is not secure. So developers also need to look into the various aspects and use cases and test cases that need to be developed in order to ensure that the application is secure. Quality, if you're a quality analyst, always remember the quality of a product is good when even security is incorporated. As I said, if there's no security, then you cannot call your product a product of quality. So everyone in the organization in some way or the other would be responsible and would need the sole responsibility of taking care of all of different aspects of security in the entire journey. So if you ask when is this threat modeling done, when is all the threats, security threats, risks, vulnerabilities identified, it's a iterative approach. Okay, initially it will be done, it's always good to start off initially at the start of a project, okay, where you identify all the threats and vulnerabilities, and it doesn't stop in that phase. It's a iterative approach where every time there's a change of scope, when there is going to be new requirements, when there is a change in technology, when there are any updates to the application, whenever such things arise, the threat modeling needs to be done. It needs to be revised. It needs to be reiterated so that you look into all aspects and ensure that security is managed and there are no potential threats or risks. So, in the initial phase, okay, when you start the threat modeling, be it a business or be it for an application, the starting few things are done. The first one is identifying business processes. If it's for a business or for a client, there would be some business process. So, you need to identify a business process based on which you'll be able to identify potential risks, vulnerabilities to the business or to the application, and that's where you would identify something called as trust boundaries that I'll be taking in a different video. But based on various inputs and outputs, you'll be able to identify to what level of security you as an organization need to provide to your customers and to your users. The next one is actors. So if you're a business analyst, you might have done a persona analysis exercise, and there you would be identifying different personas for your application. It can be the people who interact with your system, the people who are going to use your application. So when you analyze these actors, you would identify internal and external users. So for example, if there's going to be a online shopping website, there would be end users who are the external customers who are going to place orders to the application, and there would also be the store people who will be capturing those orders. So they are the internal actors of the system. So both by identifying the actors for a system or for a business, if you look at a business, you have different employees in a business, you have different applications, different departments, all of them would either be considered as internal or external actors. The external actors for a business might be their suppliers, their vendors, etc. So when you identify these actors, there will be a scenario, there will be a time when you'll be able to identify potential hackers. For example, for the e-commerce website example that I told you, not only the external customers might want to hack the system to get confidential information like, let's say, credit card payment information, but it can also be the internal office staff who use the system, they might want to manipulate the system for their own gain and benefits, and they might want to take advantage of the information present in the system. So they can also be potential hackers. So by doing these two, you would be able, at a higher level, you'll be able to get some amount of information as to what are the different processes, where can there be some potential risks and vulnerabilities, and who could be the potential hackers to the system or the business. So after doing this initial phase, the application side, people going to develop, people going to, build the architecture and for the entire application ecosystem, they would take all this information into consideration, and they would build out their threat modeling, the entire model they would build out. So this is about the little information about threat modeling. I hope you got some information as to why you have to do this threat modeling and who are all involved and what is done initially. So I hope this was informative to you. If you like this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel. Share this video to friends and people if you feel it will be helpful to, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.